Price is pushing higher, but continuation is not stable. Volatility expands across sessions, yet the move does not separate from structure. At first glance, this looks like expansion. Candles extend. Ranges widen. Momentum appears consistent, but something does not align. The movement looks new, but the location is not new. Now shift attention away from individual candles. Focus on where sessions are forming. The April 6th U.S. session forms inside the March 26th U.S. session structure, not near the boundary, not outside, inside the lower and middle region. This matters more than the move itself, because it defines where price is allowed to stabilize. Not anywhere, only where interaction already existed before. After forming there, price moves upward. It builds momentum. It approaches the lower boundary of the March 24th U.S. session structure. Then something changes. The move slows. Reaction appears. Strength fades before continuation forms. This is not random hesitation. This is containment. Containment means price is free to move, but not free to escape. It operates inside inherited boundaries. Now extend this across sessions. The April 6th Asia session forms above the April 6th U.S. session, but still inside structure. Between the upper boundary of April 6th U.S. and the upper boundary of April 5th Asia session, which aligns with the upper boundary of the April 1st U.S. session structure. So even as price moves upward, it remains inside previously defined limits. This is where session memory becomes critical. Session memory means every new session forms on top of prior interaction zones. Even if earlier session boxes are not displayed, their influence does not disappear. If you go back and restore those removed session boxes, you will see that every current session aligns with something that already existed. There are no isolated formations, no independent starting points. Everything is layered. This is why sessions repeatedly appear at similar levels. Because price is not selecting new areas. It is responding to existing structure. This repetition is subtle, because movement distracts attention. You see momentum. You assume expansion. But structure tells a different story. Price is not expanding. It is rotating inside inherited structure. This creates the first contradiction. Movement increases, but progress does not. You begin to see strong moves that fail early. You begin to see reactions that come faster than expected, because every move meets something already in place. This is where structure becomes dominant over movement. And this is where most interpretation begins to fail, because the chart looks active, but structurally it is repetitive. Price continues to travel across the chart, but distance is repeatedly interrupted. Now observe how multiple sessions begin to overlap. The April 7th U.S. session forms inside the April 1st U.S. session structure, not outside, inside. This is not expansion. This is stacking. Now different sessions share the same vertical range. This is compression. Compression does not mean price stops moving. It means the available space becomes smaller. Boundaries move closer together. Interaction becomes more frequent. So price accelerates, but travels shorter distances. Now combine this with what we observed earlier. Sessions are not forming in new locations. They are forming on top of prior memory. So movement does not extend outward. It circulates within existing boundaries. This is rotation. Rotation means price moves between boundaries repeatedly, without establishing position outside them. In this chart, price keeps interacting between March 26th, March 24th, and April 1st structures. It tests one side, then returns, then tests another side, then returns again. This repetition creates activity, but not relocation. Now another behavior emerges. Relocation. Relocation is when price moves rapidly across structures, without stabilizing inside them. This becomes visible during the April 7th Asia session. Price moves quickly upward. It passes through multiple prior session boundaries, from March 26th upper region into March 25th structure, then continues higher. This looks like expansion, but it is not confirmed, because it has not established stability outside structure. So this is relocation, not expansion. That difference matters. Expansion creates new structural space. Relocation only moves through existing space. Now observe the effect of this combination. Compression reduces available distance. Rotation keeps price inside boundaries. Relocation creates sudden movement across them. When these three interact, behavior becomes unstable. Moves appear strong, but fail to sustain. Reactions become faster. Structure becomes denser. Continuation becomes less reliable. This is not random volatility. This is structured interaction across sessions. Price extends sharply, but stability does not follow. Now focus on the most recent development. The April 7th Asia session forms with a large range expansion. It moves upward quickly. It crosses multiple prior session structures in a short period. From March 26th, upper boundary, through March 25th structure, toward the lower boundary of the March 17th U.S. session. This is a strong displacement. But displacement alone does not define expansion. Now observe what happens after the move. Price reaches higher structure, but cannot hold cleanly above it. It begins to react. Movement slows, then becomes uneven. This is where containment reappears. Even after a large move, price is still interacting with prior session memory. So the move did not escape structure. It only reached another layer of it. This creates a dual condition. Relocation has occurred, but containment is still active. So movement suggests expansion, but structure enforces limitation. This is why the chart feels unstable, because both behaviors exist at the same time. Now this affects execution conditions directly. Distance expectation compresses after the move, because upper structure is already close. Tolerance becomes narrower, because interaction frequency increases. Failure frequency increases, because continuation cannot sustain. Holding pressure builds at every tested boundary. This is not directional information. This is environmental pressure. Now step back once more. All recent sessions still form inside or directly against prior structure. No session has clearly established itself outside the inherited range. That means structure has not changed, only intensified. If sessions continue forming within these overlapping upper structures, distance remains limited. If a session stabilizes outside this structure and holds, tolerance must expand. Execution conditions remain in transition.